This is Julie Campbell for Two Peas in a Bucket, and welcome to this month's Trendy Trios class. This month we're going to be featuring a trend that's perfect for the autumn season. We'll be using wood grains and actual wood products and all the three projects that we will be completing today. So I'm going to begin with this printable. It's from the Two Peas shop, and it's sized perfectly for Project Life, but it also works well for cards. I'm just going to open the file in my Silhouette software. So once I find the file and open it up, it is extremely large, so I'm going to just resize that quickly and shrink it down to a manageable size. Okay, so now it's about 3 inches by 4 inches, and I'm going to change my paper size to letter because I want to do a print and cut. So my printer uses 8.5 by 11 sheets. And I selected the show registration marks so that when I do put this into my Silhouette, it will be able to read the printable area and know where to cut. I'm going to select my eraser tool and erase the word holly from the inside of this card. Now, I have the designer edition of the Silhouette software, which makes it a little bit easier to erase. So you might want to just erase this in like a Photoshop program or photo editing program before you even bring it into the Silhouette software, if that would be an easier option for you. I didn't quite get all the little bits here, so I'm just erasing those a little bit better. So what I'm actually wanting to do is to create a negative space for the word holly, and I want that portion to be cut out of my card. So I'm selecting my text tool and I'm opening up my fonts and selecting one that it looks like it's probably the same font that was used. It's called, I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce it right, but Babus New. So I'm just typing out the word holly, and then you can select and then kind of resize and position the fonts just by clicking the corners or the different areas of the drop box there. So I'm just stretching it out just a little bit. So now my word holly is actually made out of cut lines versus the printable red lines that they were before. I want this journaling card to have rounded corners, so I'm just saving myself from having to get out my corner rounder and then just drawing a box with rounded corners there. And I want to make sure that the black outline is outside of the cut line, because I don't want any of that black line that's in the printable to be used on my card today. So I'm just making sure everything was centered nicely. And I'm going to group all those together so I don't keep moving around the word. So I'm just positioning that in place, and if I were just doing one die cut, I would just go ahead and start printing and cutting now, but I just wanted to show you if you wanted to, you can replicate your image and do more than one at a time, like if you're working on multiple holiday cards. And you could probably actually fit those even a little bit better. Maybe fit a couple more printables on there. So once you have everything the way that you like it, you can go ahead and select that little printer icon there at the top, and it's going to ask you if you want to print your item, and I do. So I would just select print at this point. So I've actually already cut this out, but I'm showing you this as a demo. So what you would do, you would go ahead and get your printable put into your Silhouette, detect your registration marks, and then cut it out. So once you remove your print and cut from your Silhouette mat, this is what your little image will look like. So as you can see, we now have a negative image cut into the journaling tag. This is some pattern paper from Simple Stories. It's from their new Say Cheese collection, and it's designed actually to be used for documenting your Disney projects, I believe. But as you can see, a lot of the different images and colors are perfect for holiday cards. So I'm actually using this pattern paper for both. And the paper that we're going to be using today is in the very back here. I like these tone-on-tone papers that are found in the collection. And one side is, it looks almost like it's been watermarked. So one is a diagonal stripe and one is a polka dot. So I want to cut some stars into the pattern paper. So this is what happens after you would cut a star background using the silhouette onto your pattern paper. This is some of the POW glitter paper. It's from American Crafts, and it actually it's really nice because you can rub your hands all over the surface, and as you can see, there's no glitter that comes up. It's very sparkly, but the glitter remains on the paper, and it also works really well in your silhouette too if you ever want to cut anything out. The glitter is fine enough that it doesn't dull your blade. So I'm just adhering this star background paper over the glitter paper just to kind of give it a more of like a fancier holiday look. And then I'm just going to adhere that portion onto just a white cardstock panel, just to kind of give it a white border to help it pop a little bit off the front of the card. This is some pattern paper from Studio Calico's holiday collection called Magical, and I love the wood grain print that's on the front. It has different blocks of wood grain going different directions, and we're going to be using that as part of the background for the card. So I went ahead and cut that to size, and I also stitched a border around the outside edge of the black pattern paper just to kind of give it a little bit more of a design element. So I'm just kind of laying all these things together to see how I like the look. And I really want the word holly to shine and shimmer, so I'm adding just a bit of a little scrap piece of that POW glitter paper. And this is the charcoal glitter paper that's found in the shop. So I'm just adhering that onto the back. And then it gives it a more solid glittery look, if I can say it. So I like that better. Now I'm using my silhouette again to cut out a 3-dimensional star. And I've used that same pattern paper, and this is what that shape looks like once you cut it out, and it's got little score lines that are already marked, so you can go ahead and start folding the star image. If you don't have a silhouette, there's actually some really pretty glittered stars that are from American Crafts that are already they're already made for you. They're in this shop, and I would have used those actually if I had them on hand, but I didn't, so I went ahead and kind of mimicked the look with this wood grain paper. You can also use a star punch or a star die cut and just kind of create some folds to make your 3D star that way. I'm adding some glitter tape. This is also by American Crafts. It's basically the same product as the POW paper, except that it has an adhesive backing to it. So you can just remove that protective adhesive layer and then just place it on your project. It just makes it really nice that it already has the adhesive, especially since it's a kind of a narrow little strip. So this just kind of anchors the journaling card a little bit better on the front of the card itself by having that silver strip. So now I'm going to adhere that in place. And everything's coming together. I'm going to go ahead and use a white card base and adhere the card front onto that. And then I'm using my hot glue gun to adhere that 3-dimensional star onto the front of the card. I think these little journaling cards are so cute from 2Ps, and I believe they're only available for this month, and they come with all kinds of different holiday themed songs that are really cute. These are some wood stick pins. They are from Little Yellow Bicycle, and they have different words on them. And this little stick pin has the word joy, and it's burnished into a piece of wood there on the tip of the pin. So I'm just adhering that in place so that it doesn't fall out during mailing. So that completes card number 1. For the second card, I'm going to be using some of these wood veneer die cuts from Studio Calico. And these are from their Darling Deer collection. They come with some different chevrons and triangles. And let's see, they also come with some other little shapes that look like diamonds, some other triangle outlines. So just some really cute geometric shapes. So right now I'm just positioning them together they kind of fit together like a puzzle piece. So I'm just making sure that I have them turned the right direction so that they all fit together nicely. These are some distressed inks. They are from Tim Holtz. They come in a wide variety of colors, and I really love these to use when adding color to wooden embellishments because the ink doesn't dry extremely quickly, and it allows you to get the color spread on evenly, and it's basically is staining the wood different colors. There's also some distress stains in the shop, and those would work really well to color different pieces of wood veneer also. So I've got everything colored, and now I'm just arranging them on a strip of cream cardstock. I'm using my hot glue gun once again to adhere the wood veneer in place. Now I've decided that I want a little bit of space cut in between uh, the yellow and the tan piece of chevron paper, so I just trimmed that out with my scissors and then decided it would probably be easier to actually trace the shape and cut it out that way versus having the veneer already glued on and trying to cut it out with the veneer in place. So now that I have all of the chevron veneer adhered, I'm going to adhere these tiny little triangles to the bottom. So this is what everything looks like once it's adhered in place. This is some brown wood grain paper. It's from the Close Knit collection, and on the other side it comes with all kinds of really cute different tags and sayings, but I just trimmed off a little portion here to use on the card. I thought that the really dark brown really set the colors of the wood veneer off and just kind of allowed them to pop off the card front as well. So I'm just adhering these in place using my ATG gun. I want to leave just a little bit of that pattern paper showing on the right border so that the colors will really show up well. So now that I have everything adhered, I'm going to go back to my paper trimmer and then just shorten the card front down just a bit. These are some gold rub-ons. They're from Studio Calico's new print shop collection, which should be coming to the shop fairly soon, I'm guessing. But it's a new product that Studio Calico's just produced. I have the sentiment that I'm wanting to add to the bottom of the card. So I'm just cutting it out so that I can lay it on the card front and then really see what it looks like once it would be rubbed on. And then once I like the placement, I'll use that little popsicle stick that's included and then just rub over the sentiment and peel the backing, the protective layer off. So I love this sentiment. It says, "You are my moon and stars." And I thought it looked really well with that chevron print that we have above. It kind of has an Aztec feel to it. And I thought that the sentiment would work well with that kind of a theme. So I'm adhering the card front onto a card base. And after looking at my card, I decided I wanted to add some of these stars that are also part of that same print shop rub-on sheet to the top of my card because it kind of looks like almost like mountains, and I wanted to make a starry background behind these rows of mountains. And then of course it helps to set off the sentiment as well. And this completes our second card. For our third card, I'm going to be using some of this patterned paper. It's from the Dear Lizzie Polka Dot Party collection. On the back is a whitewash wood grain, and then on the front it looks like almost like penciled, doodled frames. The gray that is part of the print looks about the shade of pencil lead, and I just really love the effect that it has. So I'm just trimming out a couple of different frames from the paper. And then to fill the frames, I'm pulling out some of these wood veneer 2x2 cards, and these are exclusive to Two Peas in a Bucket. They come with all kinds of different sayings and images, and a lot of them are perfect for cards because they have just those everyday card sentiments that you'd use all the time. They've got some new fall images, but today I'm going to be using these two different fox images. And I'm just trimming out the inside of the frame so that it will fit better around those veneer. This is some Color Shine Mist. It's from Heidi Swap. And as the name suggests, it has a lot of shimmer to it. And the shimmer element, it likes to settle at the bottom of the mist bottle, so you really have to shake it up in order to get that really pretty shine. So I'm just taking just a regular paintbrush, dipping it in water, and then dipping it into the mist bottle, and then I'm just painting these frames. So on the inside of my frame, I'm not using a lot of water. I kind of want a darker look to it, but then as I go around, I add more water to my brush to kind of lighten it out and give it a little bit of a different look around the edges. And this is another color called Gold Lame, and I'm kind of wanting a gilded look to this frame, so that's why I'm adding a little bit of gold here. And that first color was a mint color. I forgot to mention that. So I'm just kind of going around and adding a little bit of gold to highlight different areas of this frame. And this is the Georgia Peach color. So just shaking it up really well. And it's kind of a reddish orange, I guess, kind of a reddish coral. For this frame, I went ahead and added water to my frame first, and it seemed to help the color to kind of move along the paper better. So I kind of did a light coat at first, and then I went over it again and made it a little bit deeper. I'm taking that same color and just adding a tiny bit of cheek color to this little fox to make her look more feminine. This is some paper that's also from the Close Knit collection by Crate Paper. And I'm just going to trim it down to size. Now that my frames have dried completely, I'm just placing them on my card front to kind of get a better feel of the layout and how things will fit best. Now the bottom of this wood veneer card, the feminine one, is a little bit long for the card, so I had to trim it off, and it trims out very easily using your paper trimmer. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere that wood veneer at the bottom in place. And then I want the frame to kind of stand out, so I'm using some tiny foam dots and then just placing them all around my frame there on the back. So that adds some dimension to the card. These are a couple of different wood grain alphas. They're both from Amy Tangerine. And I'm going to start out with the bottom of my sentiment at the end and kind of work my way backwards. I just want to make sure that everything fits correctly and I don't run out of room. I like this subtle wood grain that's in these stickers because it coordinates really well with the wood grain fox 2x2s that we used earlier. And so this is the other wood grained thicker by Amy Tangerine, and I like the mix of fonts. This one is more of a script handwritten font. So I'm wanting to spell out the word "Hey Foxy." So I'm just kind of placing my letters and overlapping them just a bit so it looks more like cursive writing would. So now I'm just kind of playing around, figuring out where I like the wording. And I'm wanting this mint colored frame to kind of tuck in and fit underneath that previously placed frame. So I'm just kind of moving things around just a little bit. So I like that placement, and I'm going to go ahead and adhere everything down. So I'll just kind of tuck that in place, and I'm going to adhere just the bottom of that frame first so that I can get the fox veneer to fit inside that frame. So I've added some stitching to the sentiment just for some added texture, a little bit more design element, and to make sure that the letters won't ever fall off the front of this card. This is a piercing mat and piercer. It's from the Amy Tangerine, her little stitching templates, and these come with each of her templates. And I'm just piercing a few holes around each of the frames because I want to make them look like they're actually hanging from the wall. I think that heart paper is so cute because it looks like a vintage wallpaper, which works really well with the frames. So this is just some white crochet thread, and I'm just put it here on a needle, and I'm going to start from the back and thread from the back to the front through those pre-pierced holes. So I'm just adding a piece of Scotch tape here on the back to make sure that the thread doesn't pull through. So now it looks like they're hanging on the wall with a photo hanger, I guess you would call it. So I'm just going to move down to the bottom frame and then do the same. Since you won't see the back of this portion of the card, it's fine to have these messy stitches behind and the tape. No one will ever know that it looks kind of messy behind there, and it's just a lot easier than tying knots. These are some rub-ons. I believe they might be called confetti. They're from Heidi Swapp as well, and they look like little sequins. They come in all kinds of different sizes and colors. And I'm going to use these tiny little sequins to make it look like the nail head that's pinning the frame onto the wall. So for this top frame, I'm using the darker aqua color, and then for the bottom frame, I'm going to use a softer aqua. So I'm just going to apply those rub-ons. So now that that is complete, I'm going to go ahead and place the card front onto a card base. To give the card even a more shabby chic feel, I'm going to take this Prima white chalk ink and then just kind of rub that chalk ink along the edges of my card. It just kind of softens the very edge up. So this completes our third and final card. I hope you've enjoyed learning how to incorporate both wood and wood grain into your projects. I'd love to see your own projects. Please upload those to the 2Ps gallery. For more information and links to all the products used today, please visit 2psinabucket.com.